The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
This week in the NHL, we have a very unexpected feud. We have Paul Bissonnette of the Spit and Chicklets podcast and NHL on TNT against Connor Bedard, the Chicago Blackhawks Twitter account, and Blackhawks fans. Now, I want to run down the secrets of events to how we got here, and then I want to give my thoughts on the matter. This whole thing begins on Wednesday when the Oilers are playing the Blackhawks. During the intermission of the game is tied 1-1. The NHL on TNT panel comes up on the television, and they are giving their thoughts on the game. Paul Bissonnette decides to highlight Connor Bedard's first period play, and he has three major criticisms for what happened in that first period with Bedard against the Oilers. The first play happens when Bedard, he's in the offensive zone, he's at the blue line, and his back is facing the net. So he's not looking at the play, and he makes a blind pass to his teammate that is intercepted by Connor McDavid. And McDavid takes the puck and goes up the other end of the ice. He doesn't see McDavid there, and he passes it right to him because his back is turned to the play, and he makes a blind pass. So that's Biz's first criticism of what Bedard does in the first period there. The second part of his criticism is Bedard is entering the zone now, and instead of chipping it up against the boards, which is to his right, and just chipping it down into the deep end of the zone, he decides to try and go through the defender. The puck is taken off his stick, his interception, and the Oilers get the puck and they go the other way. So instead of chipping the puck against the boards, he tries to go through the defender, which is a big no-no because they're NHL players. You usually can't go through them at this level. His third criticism is that there's a pass that Bedard is trying to send through the entire zone from one side to the other. His player is at the other faceoff dot and he's at the other one. And there's three Oilers in the way of the guy he's trying to pass the puck to. And what happens? He passes the puck right to the Oilers. So he also calls him out for passing the puck right to the other team when he had three defenders right in front of him. So that was Paul Bissonnette's criticism of Bedard. And he also says that this style of play, this level of play, is pond hockey. It's not successful hockey. You can't have these habits if you want to be a great NHLer. You can't continue to play like this. This leads to a whole bunch of backlash from Blackhawks fans who are not happy with Biz's criticism of their star, Connor Bedard. Bedard eventually is asked about the criticism by Bissonnette, and Philip Thompson of the Chicago Tribune posted the video, and here is what Bedard said about Biz's analysis.
Hey man, I know if I mess up a play, and like I said, it's their job to point that out or to say how they feel about something. So, but I mean, if I make a mistake, I know, So I don't need to watch a TNT broadcast to figure out if I made a mistake. I'm gonna know.
I really like Bedard's answer there, in that he knows he makes a mistake like all NHLers do. When they do something wrong, they're going to be told afterwards by their coaches on film or just in the moment. They know when they make the wrong move. They know when they make a mistake. And he also says that's his job. That's his job to analyze the play. And we'll get back to all of that in a second. But this isn't the end of the story, because on Friday night, near midnight on the East Coast in the Eastern time zone, the Chicago Blackhawks Twitter account decided to weigh in on the matter. They posted on their Twitter account 22 points in 21 games versus 22 points in your NHL career. That's pond hockey, baby. They're talking about Connor Bedard having 22 points in his last 21 games, and they posted that graphic. And they're talking about Paul Bissonnette's career, where he had a career of 22 points in 202 games played, and they posted a graphic of Bissonnette's career stats. So that's how the Blackhawks Twitter account, the official one, decided to weigh in on this beef. Now, let's get back to Biz and the thing that kicked this whole thing off, and that's him talking at the intermission about the game, which is what he's paid to do. Paul Bissonnette is on that panel because they watched the game, and during his portion of his time to talk on the television, he talked about the star on the Blackhawks. That was his portion of the panel, and he said that he didn't like these three plays, and that is his job. Like, his job is he's there to analyze the game, and the idea that he's not allowed to be critical of Connor Bedard's play and say, hey, you don't want these habits to continue because those aren't good habits. Like, that is fair criticism. And I love the fact that he used tape. I love when analysts on a panel back up what they're saying. I hate when a guy's like, just blanket, he sucks and blah, blah, blah. And you got a lot of that nonsense across pro sports where guys are just trying to have hot takes. This wasn't a hot take. This was literally the analyst paid to analyze breaking down film and talking about the film that he watched, and that was it. And so I don't understand the criticism of Bissonnette's words. If you want to criticize him saying pond hockey and you're saying, okay, maybe you shouldn't use those words, couch your statements in a different way, that's fine. That's okay. But in terms of just him doing his job, what are we talking about? That's what he's there to do. And the idea that you can't criticize NHL players unless you're projected to be better than them or you had a better career than them, I don't believe that at all. Like, I sit here as somebody who's never played professional sports, and I talk about these guys all the time because it doesn't mean I don't know if I see something wrong on the ice. Like, we talk about these things all the time. The majority of us have not played at any pro level, any significant level, and yet we all just chat about the NHL, and I feel like that's fair. The idea that Biz scored 22 points at the NHL level and that detracts from his ability to analyze the game, that's helpful. That's great. He played 202 NHL games. You know how impossible it is to be a professional athlete. It's so unbelievable that you reach that level, and the fact that he's stuck around the league for that long is a great feat. And I don't think we should squeeze out people who haven't played the game from talking about the game. We cannot leave criticism of NHL players to only people who are better than them. I don't understand that thinking at all. So the Blackhawks Twitter account calling out Paul Bissonnette for 22 points against Bedard's 22 in 21 games, like, that's not, you shouldn't shut everybody up who's never scored 23 points at the NHL level or is not better at hockey than Connor Bedard. So we should all just shut up. We should all just not talk about hockey unless we were an all-star Hall of Famer player, because that's what Connor Bedard is projected to be one day in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And if we're not also that, we're not allowed to talk about hockey. That is a ridiculous way to look at things. Some of the greatest coaches of all time never played the game at any kind of high level. Some of the greatest general managers we've ever had have never played the game at a high level. One of the best examples of this that I keep seeing that I absolutely love is Scotty Bowman, who I think most of us think is the greatest head coach in the history of professional hockey. He stopped playing hockey at the age of 18. He fractured his skull while playing for the Montreal Junior Canadiens, and he never played hockey after that. And he went on to become the greatest head coach in the history of the NHL. And what if somebody told him, you're not allowed to criticize any of your players because you didn't accomplish anything at the NHL level? I don't understand that logic. I hope that covers that part of the discussion. And the other part of the discussion is that, yes, the Blackhawks are bad. I think everything that we talk about Connor Bedard and his accomplishments and his points and all that should be couched with, he has bad teammates and the entire team around him is terrible. Sometimes he's going to make mistakes because he doesn't have anybody to pass the puck to. He's not playing with any type of high-level skilled teammates. Like, everything he's doing kind of on an island, in that if we want him to be this great generational talent, eventually the Blackhawks organization is going to surround him with a bunch of talent, I hope, so that he can grow to that player. And everything he does right now, if these plays are as a result of having bad teammates, I don't know. They might just be bad plays that he made in the moment, which is fair criticism, and they might be a result of, hey, he's trying to make the extra pass because everybody around him is terrible. He's trying to do everything on his own. And that should also be acknowledged, that, hey, he's on a terrible team, but it doesn't mean we can't talk about his play in a negative way and a positive way. And I think Bissonnette has been very positive about Bedard in the past, and they've filmed videos together at the Winter Classic very recently. So I don't think it's great that people are running to try and protect Bedard from any sort of criticism. He's allowed to be criticized by people who played the game and people who haven't. That is fair. And Bedard will get better when he gets better teammates. That is also very true. He clearly has the talent. He clearly has the skill, and eventually he'll get there. He'll be fine once the Blackhawks figure out how to build this thing back up to the championship level that we kind of expect the Blackhawks to eventually get back to, and that they will eventually get back to. So that's kind of what's been going on here in the Biz versus Bedard in the Blackhawks world. Let me know what you think in the YouTube comments on the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit like on this video if you're watching there right now. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to the Jesse Blake Sports Report on your favorite podcast app if you want to just listen to these episodes. That is it for me tonight. Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be listening or watching right now, and I appreciate you for that. Good night from Toronto.
And that is how it's done.
The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Jesse Blake, the guy that likes to hear his name twice in one sentence. Sure, I know him. No, he doesn't have an ego at all.